Yo, welcome back to another Deadrails video. If you missed it, Deadrails is updated. There's a brand new location. I already made a video on it. But in today's video, I'm going to be grinding bonds so that I can buy the new class, the priest class. Before this update, there was only 4 main areas that spawned bonds: banks, the fort, the castle, and the last outpost. But now with the laboratory added, there's another location where you can get bonds at. Enough yapping, let's get straight to it. If you want bonds, the only way to get them is to play the game, unless you've got Robux. My strategy for this video is to skip every location except the main locations that have bonds. Hopping into my first run, I drove straight to the fort and hurried to take it down before nighttime. Then, after killing everyone, I opened the supply depot and I was able to get a few bonds. I usually skip towns because they take so long, so my next stop was the castle. I thought I would be able to rush in and just grab some bonds with my snake oil, but here's how that went. I usually cut my deaths out, but I want to show you guys my deaths in this video because solo bond farming is one of the most difficult things to do in the game. In order to get bonds, you have to go to the most dangerous locations, and if you're solo, you have to play those locations very slowly, otherwise you will die. With my first death out of the way, I jumped right back into the next round, and I got straight to the fort to get a few more bonds. Exactly the same as last run, I went straight from the fort to the castle, and unfortunately this time it didn't go any better. I was trying to use the horse to block the werewolves from getting out the door, but unfortunately I couldn't actually hit the werewolves. This would have been a good place to have holy water or a crucifix, but I died. So in the next run, I decided to slow it down. I needed more guns and more ammo. Before the fort, I was able to stop at a bank. I don't usually rob banks, but it had a few bonds inside. And for the third time, I was at the fort grabbing bonds again. This seems like one of the easiest locations to get bonds from. I'm gonna be honest, I died at the castle right after, so we were into the next run. At this point, I was honestly so mad that I couldn't beat the castle, so I decided that I needed to come up with a new strategy to take down the castle solo. For this run, I got my alt account in the game, and I sold his set of armor because he's the ironclad. With this extra starter money, I was able to buy revolver ammo and enough coal to get all the way to the fort. For some reason, when I was driving, I didn't see the fort. I think it spawned behind something, so I ended up skipping the fort and going straight to the castle. After waiting until the morning and getting a ton of supplies, I was ready for my new strategy to take down the castle. My biggest problem was getting swarmed by all the werewolves, so I needed to find a way to kill them one at a time. I knew that last time the horse was blocking them from leaving. The problem was that the horse died. So this time I decided to use this metal plate to block them. First, I tried to aggro them on me and then block the door. Then, after the werewolf was aggro and stuck at the door, I could easily take him out. I also realized there was a werewolf in the back, but he's easy to kill because he can't fit through this gap. It did seem like the metal plate was working, but I could tell that there were still werewolves inside, so I had to be careful. It was time for the real test. I got a bunch of Molotovs in hopes that I could kill all of these werewolves once they targeted me. Surprisingly, the metal door strategy was working flawlessly, so I decided to keep using this sheet plate to cover each of the doors. As you can see right here, they were standing on top of the metal plate, which caused it to fall down, so you want to be careful where you put your metal plate at. Even though castle is one of the hardest places to beat solo, it gives the most amount of bonds. I was able to get 12 bonds from this whole castle. Now, with the castle out of the way, I was fully equipped to take down this whole game. I had as much heals as I needed, as much ammo as I needed, and after this laboratory, I was about to have the best gun in the game. If you somehow have never seen a video about this new location, you have to grab all these body parts that are scattered around the building, and once you get those, you have to assemble the body on the table and pull this lever. After that, a bunch of zombies will be spawning while this thing powers up. Once it's fully powered, you'll get the electrocutioner gun and a few bonds. After beating the lab, the only other places you could find bonds are in banks and in the final outpost. So I decided I would speedrun all the way to the end of the game. The one tip I have for the final outpost is just snipe the people from far away. If you don't go close enough, they can't actually target you and you can easily hit them. After getting all the outlaws, just move in slowly and check every house for bonds. Usually there's around 1 to 2 bonds in each house. I honestly thought there would be more bonds. I only got like 10. Anyways, after all that, it's time to start the final battle. I do have the electrocutioner pistol, so it will be a little bit easier to kill the boss. But I am gonna wait until the morning because this is a vampire night. After the night, it was time for the final battle. I would highly suggest do not be on the ground while you're fighting. Try to get up on a wall or on a roof, otherwise he will one-shot you with his throwing attack. After a bit, I realized this spot on the bridge makes it to where Tesla can't actually target you and he stays outside the walls. So I jumped down so he'd be able to target me just so I could kill him for the video. But if you're soloing, I would say use this spot so you don't even have to fight him and you can easily beat the game. And there you have it. Using those tips, I was able to solo the game super easily, and I was able to get a ton of bonds. Unfortunately, I still needed 20 more bonds to be able to afford the priest class, so I hopped back into the next game. And with just the castle alone, I was able to get 14 bonds. That is insane. And after taking down the lab, I only needed a few more bonds until I had 75 bonds total. I also found this unicorn, which is a pretty cool thing to have in the final boss fight. It doesn't really make a big difference, but I think the unicorn's pretty cool. So this is kind of my strategy. Stay at a distance to where they can't shoot you and just kind of spam some shots out. Hopefully you can hit them. If they start shooting at you, back up a little bit, but it's a super easy fight. After clearing the outpost, it was time to get the last few bonds I needed. To buy the priest class, I only needed a total of 75 bonds. I was able to find 10 extra, getting a total of 85 bonds. After that, it was time for the final boss fight. For this fight, I decided to stay on the bridge so that Tesla wouldn't even spawn in. I was hoping that this would make the fight easier, and it actually did. As you can see, Tesla only spawned in after I got off the bridge. When you're on the bridge, he can't even target towards you, and I think he just stays outside the wall. That's it for today's video. I think bond farming is actually easier in this new update. Let me know if you agree about that. Besides that, after those runs, I now have enough bonds to buy the priest class. In next episode, I'm going to buy this class and test it out. I've heard that it's the best class for solo runs. If you already have the priest class, let me know how good it is. Besides that, a special shout out to all of our channel members, and I'll see you guys all in the next video or live stream.